I've wanted fame and I've wanted the fortune that comes with men knowing my name. Ooh, now above all that, I just want you lifted so they can be drawn and be changed. 'Cause you said that lifted out your arm into me. You said it, lifted out your arm into me.
Y'all come on in to this Winning Wednesday live real quick. Be sure to share, like, and share. We'll get started in just a few minutes.
But now I'm all that I just want you. You said it right.
Hey, cousin Kendrick, everybody. My cousin Kendrick is on here. He is kicking COVID-19's butt. So everybody, while we're waiting to get started, send some prayers up for my cousin Kendrick Harris. He is kicking COVID's butt. We declare it and decree it. You are coming out of that hospital well with a full recovery.
I just want you lifted and be drawn and be changed. Yes, you said it right. You said it right. And we need to be kind. You said it right. I be lifted out of misery. You said it. I will draw and set it right. The only way they'll see the truth is it. And the truth will make them free. Come on, help me lift it up. He'll draw and set it right. I will draw them to me. It's the only way they'll see the light. It's the only way they'll get no light. You told me it's so limited.
Hello, everyone, and happy Winning Wednesday. You can't hear me, huh? I'm sorry. We're supposed to be wearing our mask and everything, and you cannot hear me. So that's what we're going to talk about today, why we should not wear our mask. But before we get into why we shouldn't be wearing our mask and why we shouldn't be washing our hands, of course, as usual, as I start off with every Winning Wednesday, I want to do a business shout out, a small business shout out today. And today I would like to feature none other than Succeed Administrative Consulting Firm. Succeed Administrative Consulting Firm is owned by none other than Deshaun Little. Ooh, Lord forgive me, he finna get me. Deshaun Campbell. If you have a business, if you have an organization and you need to take your business to the next level, or maybe you haven't even launched your business yet, you are simply looking to start your business, you have an idea and need to figure out if it needs to go to launch, you need to visit Deshaun Campbell, Deshaun Campbell from Succeed Administrative Consulting Firm. Again, his contact information is there on the flyer. Please check him out on Facebook. You can visit him on his website as well. But we are going to get right in today because I got a 7-year-old that is demanding to go to the park, and I got to be a mom today. I don't have the option to say no today. He doesn't like to go out the house very often, but today he is asking to go out of the house. So today I'm going to go ahead and take him to the park. So you should not be covering your mouth. As you saw me at the beginning of this broadcast, my mouth was covered. And the reason why you couldn't hear nothing that I was saying, if you ride in the car with me, you know, I have full-fledged concerts. So I am always, if you're on the phone with me, I'm going to randomly sing a song. So y'all didn't even get to hear the fact that I was singing every lyric. That's what took me so long to turn that the song off, because I was singing along. That is my jam, and I play it frequently, but y'all can hear it because I have my mask on. And that is one of the reasons why I say don't wear your mask. I'm not saying don't wear your mask to not keep safe, because we need to wear our mask to be safe. If you are leaving your home, if someone is entering your home, you better make sure they got on a mask. But sometimes we wear a mask and it is symbolic or metaphorical, a metaphorical mask that keeps our mouth shut. It keeps our mouth covered. It's almost as if we are wearing a muzzle. Almost as if we're wearing a muzzle and we are not speaking. I know I went to the store the other day and I was talking to someone through my mask. I was at the grocery store and I was talking to one of the employees, and I was trying to ask him where something was, and he couldn't understand what I was saying. So he said, take your mask off. And then just as I got ready to take my mask off, look, I needed the mask for safety. I heard God say, you better not take that mask off. So I kept it on and I just said, you know what, forget it. I'll find it on my own. Never mind. Don't worry about it, because I had become frustrated with trying to communicate through what at that time felt like a muzzle, something that was trying to keep me quiet. Although it was to keep me safe, it was something that I felt that was trying to shut me up. So reason number one, I say don't wear a metaphorical mask. A metaphorical mask. You please wear that mask if you go out in public. I'm telling you now, you don't wear that mask when you go out in public, the chances of you getting COVID-19 are a lot more likely. But do not wear a metaphorical mask. And the reason being, number one, the Bible tells us we are overcomers by the blood of the Lamb and the word of our testimony. How can you share your testimony with another if you're not opening your mouth? How can you share your testimony with another if you're refusing to speak? How can you share your testimony with another if you've got a muzzle on and they can't hear you? You can't effectively communicate what you've been through, what you've overcome, the glory of God that has fallen and the favor of God that has fallen on your life if you're not opening your mouth. If you've got a mask on, covering up your testimony. That is how you're going to overcome, by sharing your testimony. So number one, don't wear a mask metaphorically, because because you have to tell your testimony. You've got to tell what you've been through. You've got to tell what you were going through. You've got to tell what you've overcome, what you've accomplished, what you failed at, what you're good at. You've got to open your mouth. Another reason why you cannot afford to be quiet is because the Bible tells us, when thou art converted, strengthen thy brethren. How can you help somebody else if you don't open your mouth? And even more, tell them about your testimony and what you've overcome and how God has brought you through. If you can't tell them how God has brought you through, how can you help to encourage them to know that God will bring them through? And those of us that are saved, if we're called to be disciples and lead others to Christ, how are we leading somebody to Christ and we can't open our mouth? We're sitting around with a mask, being quiet and refusing to open our mouth. You cannot help somebody else convert, overcome, be better than, become a disciple if you don't open your mouth. The last reason that you need to not cover your mouth and wear a mask is because the Bible tells us, as you can see, my shirt says, I don't know if you guys can see it, it says speak life. Got that from none other than Lady Vicki Kemp. Visit her website, www.vickylynkemp.com, to order your shirt. But the Bible tells us that the life and death is in the power of the tongue. That means if you're not speaking your life, Your silence is giving you your funeral. If you're not speaking life into your children, if you're not speaking life into your family, if you're not speaking life into your community, if you're not speaking life into your own business, if you're not speaking life into your ministry, your silence is creating the funeral, is creating the death of your dreams. Your silence is creating the death of the relationship because you refuse to open your mouth. A lot of times, a lot of confusion can be avoided if we open our mouth and we communicate. But because we feel like we've grown and because we don't have to answer to anybody, or because we feel like they won't know what they're going to misunderstand me, they're not going to know, we don't want to open our mouth. You've got to use your mouth to speak life, declare life, and not only speak life, you got to use your mouth to pray. Some folks are good at fighting with their hands, and then there are some that realize that we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities in high places. And the only way those high places are going down is if you talk to the King of Kings sitting higher than them all. You have got to learn to pray and use your mouth as your weapon. Use your mouth as your weapon. If you remain quiet, you cannot use your mouth as a weapon other than destruction, because your silence is allowing the enemy to run rampant in your life. Sometimes you got to tell the devil, those that know me well know, I'll tell my kids in a minute, when they get to acting up, whatever spirit that thinks it's running you today, you better tell that spirit it's got to go. I've got authority in this house. That spirit has got to go. It is not welcome here. So you got to speak life. I mean, you got to declare some things. You got to open your mouth, and you can't tell the enemy what he ain't gonna do and what authority he doesn't have if you're quiet, if you're silent, if you're walking around with a metaphorical muzzle over your mouth. You've got to declare, not here, not on my watch. So number one, the reason why you cannot afford to walk around with your mouth covered, like, because you really can't hear me right now, the reason why you can't afford to walk around with your mouth covered is because you overcome by the word of your testimony. You've got to tell somebody what you've overcome. Number two, because you've got to help convert your brother. You got to use your mouth to talk to your brother. Tell them what you've overcome so that you can help them overcome too. And then lastly, you've got to make sure that you use your mouth so you speak life into your dreams, your vision, your children, your family, and your community. Last but not least, I'm telling you not to wash your hands. Not to wash your hands. Not to wash your hands. Now, yes, we need to be clean. And as you know by now, if you've been watching, I'm not speaking literal. I am speaking metaphorically here. You cannot afford to wash your hands. I was reading the story in the Bible of the Shunammite woman, and she had taken care of the prophet Elijah in the Bible. She had taken care of him so well that she had built a room for him in her home. So when he came through to the town, he had somewhere to lay his head. When he came to visit, he had somewhere. She had a whole husband. So please don't think she was trying to get something. She was trying to take care of the man of God. And she had taken care of him so well that he asked her, what is it that you desire? Well, he had told her, by this time next year, you shall have a son, because she didn't have any children. You shall have a son. Well, a year goes by and she had the son. Time went on and that child had died, sat on her lap, and that child had died. She went and put the child in the room. Could you imagine what God had promised you? What was spoken over your life is now laying in your hands, dead. Laying in your hands, dead. She put that child in the room. And she went back to see the prophet. But she declared, even in going to see him, it is well, because she was fully, I believe, trusting in the fact that God was going to perform a miracle for her. Well, she spoke back to the man and she said, you promised. She spoke to the prophet and said, you promised me this child. I didn't ask you for this child. You promised me this. Even if it is my heart's desire, you promised me this. And now what you have promised me is dead. And he began to declare, it is well. The prophet got back to the house. And when he got back to the house, he began to lay his body on that baby. and the baby came back to life. The child came back to life. So I want to challenge you today. Don't wash your hands of your dreams. Don't wash your hands of the promises that God is giving you. Do not wash your hands on that business plan. Do not wash your hands of that child that is just acting a fool and you feel like they just ain't learned or ain't got it yet. Do not wash your hands on your ministry. Do not wash your hands on your business just yet, because God has promised it to you. Because he has promised it to you, even though it looks like it's laying in your hands dead, you cannot afford to wash your hands of it and to let it go and to walk away from it. So today, whatever it is that you're facing, whatever it is, whatever dream, whatever vision, whatever promises that are laying in your hands that you have felt that have died, even if it's because of COVID-19 and businesses have had to shut down, whatever is laying in your hand that you feel is dead, declare today that it is well, and I'm not going to wash my hands of it. I'm not going to wash my hands of it. I'm not going to let go of the promise that he made to me, because the promises of God are yea and amen. The promises of God come with no sorrow. The promises of God are yea and amen. If God made you a promise, he cannot lie. He cannot lie. He cannot lie. Heaven and earth will pass away before God's word ever fails. So that promise that God has given you, I declare, I encourage you today to declare it is well, that you are not going to wash your hands of it, that you're not going to forget about it, that you're not going to give up on it, because it is a promise of God and it shall live. It shall live. You see, I'm speaking life into something even now. I'm speaking life into your faith even now. And had I allowed the enemy to muzzle my mouth today, I would not be able to encourage you today. So I am showing you that you've got to learn to speak life, even when in the midst of it, it looks like it is dead. Even in the midst of the frustrations, even in the midst of the tears, even in the face of COVID-19, it is well. You've got to declare it, okay? So I love each and every one of you. I pray that this has been a blessing to you. I pray that you don't allow the enemy to keep you silent another day in your life. I pray that you don't wash your hands on the promises of God. Somebody is holding on to a thread in their marriage. And I declare today that it is well. It shall live and it shall not die. You shall see the salvation of the Lord. Even Kendrick, cousin Kendrick, if you are watching, I declare now that you are well, that you are walking out of that hospital, healed, healthy, whole, and fully recovered. We declare it, we decree it. This will be a testimony for the glory and honor of God. So again, I love each and every one of you. I pray that this has been a blessing to each of you. If it has, I dare you to like and share so that it is a blessing to someone else. When you get something good, if it's a good word, if it's a word of encouragement, we don't keep it to ourselves. We share it with a friend. So I dare you today to share this broadcast so that somebody else knows that it is well. I love each and every one of you. I won't see you next Wednesday because I will be taking a break, a much needed rest, vacation, but I will see you all next week, the week after. I love you. Make sure you do something today that your future self thanks you for. Bye-bye.